What's good, y'all? I'm just gonna do a voiceover. It's been a while, and I got a new phone, so I ended up losing a bunch of content that I had before, unfortunately. But I'm gonna try and move forward and post what I still have, and try and get the series over with. Now, this is the bulk that I started once I graduated my cadet academy. This was pretty early on. This video right here, I believe this was like the first week of the bulk. I already put on I think a few pounds. I filled out a little bit more than I was when I graduated. I know I was pretty skinny when I first graduated. I was still a little on the smaller side. I think right here is a few weeks in. Strength and just overall progression was the main goal. Size was definitely there too that I wanted, but progression was my priority. And this right here was a pretty good PR. I know when last time I was squatting a lot, I was repping 225 for about 5 to 6 reps. I believe this was about a month in, maybe 2 in, and I was repping 225 for 15. So yeah, this was a pretty cool milestone here. Definitely a little bit of a struggle, you can tell. I was slowing down towards the end, but it was pretty sick to get that 15th rep. There were a few other muscle groups that I was prioritizing too, calves, forearms, and all that as well. But legs overall were my main priority, and that's where I wanted to progress the most. And a lot of this video is gonna be mostly just physique checks, PRs, and stuff like that. Here, I believe this was a few months in. I think this is right when I hit about 200 pounds. I started at about 190. But yeah, this is about 200, I believe, right here. So, let me go ahead and just say, don't judge. I don't know how to pose at all. So, but either way, I was pretty stoked. I was doing pretty good. A good 10-pound jump from 190. I'm not sure. I'm trying to see how many clips I have in here that I got when I first started the bulk, when I was around that 190 weight. But I remember this was a good milestone. Once I got to that 200, I wanted to try and maintain and hold this weight for a while. But yeah, I'm not really good at doing voiceovers, by the way. I'm sure you can tell. I don't really know exactly what to say. I'm just trying to recap this whole series of the bulk. Again, you can see I can't really pose. I don't know how to hit back or flex my back very well, or hit any back poses. But going back to what I was saying about progressing in certain areas, pull-ups was definitely a big one. I know when I started the Cadet Academy, I think strict pull-ups that I first started with were about 12. I'll have to go back and watch those videos, but yeah, I believe 12 to 15 were my max without the vest. So I try to prioritize repping these out with the vest. And I know once I got to my last PT test at the end of the academy, I think I hit about 17 total. So that was a good progression for me as well. Overall, though, I would say back is a stronger muscle group for me. Probably my favorite muscle group to hit, probably because it's the strongest for me. I know that's definitely one of the areas that has grown the most as well. I got some clip earlier on right before I started the bulk, when I was doing lat pull downs. I'm gonna see if I got it in here real quick. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, this is right before I started the bulk. I believe might have still been in the Cadet Academy. I'm not sure how much I was repping in that first clip, but you can definitely see I was a lot more leaner here, and overall, and you can tell I put on a decent amount of size in my back, which I was pretty stoked on that. It looks good, and I definitely felt strong. Maybe it was that grip. That grip is definitely my favorite pull down grip. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite groups to hit, and I made some decent progress on that. I can't remember exactly how much weight I was pulling down when I started and right here, but either way, I grew some size, and I was pretty proud of it. Now, when it came to these workouts, all my functional CrossFit and full body stuff, these definitely got harder the heavier I got. I was still able to hit them, but yeah, they definitely decreased a little bit. So towards the end of the bulk, I was trying to prioritize that, make sure that I was getting my cardio in, because I know about halfway through the bulk, I was neglecting my runs, and I think I was only running maybe about twice a week at most, maybe once. Yeah, I definitely fell off on the cardio side, but towards the end, I started getting it together. I was making sure I was hitting all my workouts on Fridays, the fun Friday workouts, you know. But yeah, these ones were definitely important, because this is definitely how the workouts were at, you know, the cadet program. And I was still going to the cadet program even though I graduated. They had their off season, so once a month we'd meet up, and we'd always have at least one workout that was like this. So I wanted to make sure that I was, you know, staying up to par overall. But yeah, I remember this workout was pretty killer. Definitely, I know that my breathing was getting pretty gnarly the heavier I got too. I know that's a pretty common thing, but being that I have you know, a limited capability with my lungs, and with asthma tagging along with that, you know, is definitely noticeable for me. I know every time I was doing these workouts, I was always breathing extremely hard between the sets, you know, especially if I was doing EMOMs like this, where I had a few seconds to catch my breath. I was definitely gassed. Yeah, you can see that. But yeah, these are definitely workouts that I wanted to keep in. You know, I actually love these workouts a lot, so there's a reason why I call them Fun Fridays. You know, hitting the power cleans and burpees and stuff like that. Definitely the workouts that you want to keep if you're going to be training to become a firefighter. It's all about strength, endurance, and just pushing your limits. All right, here, just doing another run. I know I was definitely getting my runs back together towards the end there. 3 to 5 miles was about my sweet spot. So I was definitely able to get a little more leaner towards the end. And here's another quick physique check. This is at the end of the bulk. I believe this is around 209, 210-ish. I got up to 215, and then I actually believe that most of that was because I was gifted a big bag of candy for my birthday, and I kept that in my drawer at work. And I was, you know, once I cut that out, I started to, you know, slim down a little bit and look a little better. So yeah, this is the end of the bulk right here, when I was, you know, actually staying on top of my cardio and getting shit done as far as runs and staying on top of my Fun Friday workouts. So as you can see, I'm definitely a little bit more on the leaner side, which is pretty nice. I was pretty satisfied with how the bulk ended up coming out towards the end. As far as PRs and all that stuff, you know, I did have that video of me hitting that 315 squat. I benched 225 on incline for a few reps. I hit, I think, 14 pull-ups with the weighted vest being at my peak bulk. And my runs, I can't really say I PR'd on those. I think my runs almost stayed the same. If anything, got a little bit worse. I have a PT coming up soon that's going to prepare us for the next cadet academy coming up, where I will be a senior cadet. But I'm going to keep testing my runs, get that shit dialed in, and yeah. This is the end of the bulk right here, though, and I was pretty stoked. I got another clip here from right before I started the bulk. And this was about 190, 195 maybe. Maybe this is like a week into the bulk, but definitely a lot lighter, you can tell. I was definitely a lot weaker. This is when I couldn't do 315 at all. I think I was only able to bench 225 on flat bench for a few reps, maybe. And yeah, cardio was a lot better. I'll admit that. I was satisfied with how everything came out towards the end. I mean, that's about a 25-pound gain, right? I'd say overall, I'd probably make that's about a 20-pound gain once you cut out the candy. Here on out, we're just going to keep on keeping on, maintaining, and we'll see how I continue to look before I get Fire Academy. So, see you then.